We have to start at Old Trafford. Now, people say, "Oh, you do too much United," but the problem is they serve up so many storylines. A week ago,
Yeah.
we said, "Oh, after they knocked out Arsenal on penalties in the FA Cup, they showed heart, they showed buy-in, they showed application." Since then, on Thursday, they laid this incredible turd
Yeah.
against Southampton, who I think at the time had only 6 points. I think they still have 6
They
points.
still have 6 points, yeah. One of the worst teams ever.
I mean, it was a shocking performance on Thursday.
Yeah.
And then my man Amad Diallo, hat trick, minute 83 onwards,
Yeah.
turns it around.
Yeah.
Amad.
Miracle.
Okay. Brighton come into town, and they stink it up again. And you have, it's not the scoreline so much. They lose 3-1, whatever. For me, it's more the fact that you have Amorim now coming out saying, "Well, we could be the worst Manchester United team in history." Did he say?
In history, yeah.
They're probably not, because United
Well, yeah,
have
he
been
should learn
relegated
about
in the
the
past.
history. Yeah, he should learn about the history of his own club.
But I think he might mean in the history of the Premier League, because football started in 1992.
Yeah, of course.
All right, I want to get to the game in a second, and I also want us to talk about Brighton, because otherwise we'll just depress everybody with this United talk. But just his communication, coming out and saying that, were you surprised? Is that helpful? Is this a technique?
Yeah, for me, he tried to deflect from the fact that they were so bad and that he has been so bad, really. I think we all expected him to do much better than that at United, certainly not to be in that kind of form, not to be 13th in the table. And I think he's struggling. The team is struggling. And he did this after Boxing Day when he said, "Oh, we are in a relegation battle," which they were not, but they just lost another game. And he explained after he wanted the players to react from what he said. And I suspect this is the same thing. But one, it's not true, obviously. They're not the worst team in United history, whether it's just the Premier League or not. Two, this is a squad that is worth probably around 800, 900 million pounds. That should be doing better.
Okay. Sorry, I was just intrigued. When you said whether it's the Premier League or not, they're not the worst team. Premier League obviously started in 1992. If you make that...
I mean, to be fair, they were quite dominant in Premier League eras, yeah.
In the Premier League era, I chucked this out to United fans. Yeah, I've seen teams play worse than this. I've seen United teams with less hope than this. But yes, United fans, can you come up with a worse version of your team? I think you probably can, but please remind maybe some of the Moyes stuff, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking more than
some Van Gaal, maybe.
Yeah, probably. So for me, it was trying to deflect from that.
We're gonna get into United, but I want to talk about Brighton as well. Fabian Hürzeler comes in, obviously youngest manager in the Premier League. We were talking about this off air. You said I didn't think Brighton were that good with the ball.
Yeah.
And if Brighton aren't that good with the ball on a game like this, where they didn't just limit United to one goal, they limited United to very, very few chances. I don't even know what the XG were if you exclude the penalty, but I'm sure it wasn't much.
Very low. They had one shot on target, that was the penalty.
Then what does that say, really?
No, I think it says that how bad United were, but this is a Brighton team that before they beat Ipswich in midweek and then United this weekend, they hadn't won in 8 in the Premier League. So they were young
on a
team.
Slide.
Sorry?
They were on a slide.
Yeah. 0 win in 8 in the league is just, but they were still mid-table because they had a lot of points before. They had good games before. It's still a young team with a young manager, so you can expect the highs and the lows, really, and the up and down.
And a lot of guys still injured as well.
Yeah, they've got injuries. They also have a player like Baleba, for example, who we both love, who at times, because he's still learning very much, sometimes will dominate games, sometimes will be maybe not as dominant as he should be considering his talent. So, which is normal for a team like that. But I just thought you could see them playing much better with the ball, and they have certainly earlier in the season than what they did at Old Trafford, and yet they could have scored 5 or 6 goals.
Yeah, I think Brighton's style of play is also kind of high risk, high reward. Mm-hmm. So you will get some screwy results as well, where maybe they dominate the play and things don't go their way. All right, Jules, I generally take it as read that players are engaged, that they're committed. I think most of the time they are, and most of the time, I think, and this is true under Ten Hag as well, with some exceptions who appear totally uninterested. I think United players have been trying. They might make mistakes. They might get beaten. Yeah. They might not always understand the tactical instructions. What gets me, though, is and I feel really stupid for saying this. Remember not that long ago I said, oh, look, he's got this 3-4-2-1 system, and really everybody seems to understand their positions, and there's really only 2 spots that he really needs to upgrade. I mean, you can upgrade every position, obviously, but in terms of guys who fit, possibly the center forward, because Højlund's not having a happy time, and possibly, he likes to have one wing back and one sort of attacking winger, playing as a wing back, if you will. And then I see these next 2 games, and I'm like, what happened to this? Ugarte Menu, you're playing against, okay, Baleba we love. The other guy, Yari, I thought played well without being exceptional.
No, but he's a good player.
Yeah, but the other 2 guys...
I would repeat what I say all the time, and I said it again on the FC show, both on Thursday night and on Sunday night. It's easier to put a defensive plan together. And the draw at Liverpool and the draw at Arsenal, it was a draw that you won the penalty shootout, but they're 2 draws. Those draws are with a defensive shape, with a defensive mind, with a defensive structure that let you play with a low block in a 5-4-1 formation, then countering that opposition, whether it's Liverpool or Arsenal, with Bruno, with Ahmad, with Garnacho, Zirkzee, Holland, whoever you want, doesn't matter. This is much easier to put together than, hey, we are home against Bournemouth or Newcastle or Brighton or Forest and Southampton. We can't defend. This is not what you do, not Old Trafford, not against those teams. But you struggle with the ball. You struggle to create anything. You struggle to put 4 passes together in the final third. You don't have that right now. And that's why I'm wondering. I love Amorim. I love what he did at Sporting. I was really hopeful when he arrived. What have they been doing for the last 3 months? He arrived in November, Gab.
So, well, first of all, I want to be unkind here, but all those teams that you mentioned, except for Southampton and Brighton, who actually beat them, the other ones are all in the Champions League spots or like 1 point off.
They're all better than United. That's it.
But yeah, well, he says, oh, no, it's not about this. This is what gets me about what he said. And I think it's difficult communicating with the media. Also, it's difficult for him. He's a younger manager. Sporting, you are under a big spotlight, but equally, he did win the title twice in 4 years. So it's like, he came out and says, oh, no, it's not about having more time to train. And I'm like, dude, you can't say we're terrible and then not give me an explanation. Yeah. Why? Surely it is about having more time to train and work together.
Yeah.
Because if it's not that, why are you there? Right? Yeah. Because it's, people will say, oh, the players are pants. I don't think the players are that. I generally don't think the players are that bad.
They're all international players. They are all international players. There's not one of them who doesn't play for his country.
Right, and that can mean, and
I know, but they don't play for
go ahead,
countries.
Say it. Oh, you want to say it? Okay, all right. And I mean, so most of Brighton's players are also internationals, but what gets me though is I would have expected some patterns of play going forward. And we saw a little bit against Southampton. I am kind of lumping the 2 games together because I think there's a lot of commonality between the 2, leaving aside that they won one and lost the other. Mm-hmm. In Southampton, he started with Ahmad in that wing-back role. He had to because Diogo was suspended.
Yeah.
Felt to me like here, he's like, all right, I need to start grinding out results, and I can't mess around. Brighton at home. Diogo comes back. Diogo straight back in the starting lineup. That's a conservative approach. And I don't think that plays too well. And it sends a message that you're not taking the game to the opposition. And then you're one mistake away. The first goal...
I don't think they can.
The first goal is basic stuff. I mean, you don't... When you've got a medium block like that, when you lose the ball in the opposition half, you have to at least you either have your defenders drop off, or you send somebody to stand in front of the player with the ball so he can't just... I mean, Baleba's pass to Mitoma, it was the easiest thing in the world for him.
Yeah, and I think maybe where I'm the most disappointed, really, the patterns of play with the ball, it can take a bit of time. Okay, I get that. But the pressing, as in pressing, so you don't have the ball, the other team has the ball, and all you want to do is put them under pressure and you go and press to recover the ball. This is something that outside of running and knowing how to run and where to run as players. This is all you have to do. There's nothing. I need the ball. I need to control it well. I need the options when I'm on the ball. No, this is Gabby. You have the ball. I'm the one triggering the press. I'm gonna go at you at full pace, and then everybody's. They have nothing of that, and I'm just like, his sporting team used to press so well. There's no reason why this United team can't do it. Bruno can press, Ahmad can press, Zirkzee can. They can all run. They all, for most of them, quite young, outside of Evans and Maguire, maybe.
Right.
And they just don't press anything. The third goal, I know we can blame Onana. It's a bad mistake, okay. But before that, the way Brighton built up from the back, go through the United team as literally they were coons on the pitch. It looked like a training drill for Brighton, that third goal. And I'm like, but this should be sorted by now. They should be pressing much better. And they still don't. And I'm like, again, what are you doing?
And when we're talking about this now, you're not talking about super sophisticated high press with like the trigger and the trap and whatever. We're talking about something as basic because you don't even need to. You're just talking about having a press in the middle of the park. That's when you start engaging, right?
Yeah.
Which every team does. And I don't understand. Ugarte was sold to us as this guy who runs like a maniac all over the pitch. That went away. Kobbie, all right, now I'm starting to think Mark Ogden was right. Kobbie Mainoo does not have the athleticism to play that role.
But after the Liverpool game, Gabby, we said he could. I remember us saying
I know. Now he shows us 2 games in a row where.
But it's a different style of game, this one, again, than the Liverpool. And we go back to that. It's easier for Ugarte and Mainoo to have the 3 behind so close, the 2 inside 10 in front of them so close, to often be facing the ball and not receiving with their back to goals. Because of the way they were defending. This was different. And they struggled. But they struggle in all those kind of games too.
All right. I do have some ideas, but first I wanted to mention Lenny Yoro, not a good game at all.
No, it was not good against Southampton either. Suleimani destroyed him.
What's the problem? Like teething, young,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
I don't
blah.
know. I think that
he shouldn't get beaten for athleticism either. Because
no, but then Suleimani is so quick, Mitoma is so quick, and
I would take Yoro over Kaoru Mitoma in a full race any day of the week.
Never, I would never. I think Mitoma is quicker than Yoro. Yoro is much taller and much bigger.
Right, and the Olympic sprinters are notoriously little guys.
I think Mitoma is faster than Yoro.
Over 30 meters. Do you think Mitoma's going to outrun Yoro?
I think so. Yeah, like Suleimana. I just think well done to both of Brighton and Southampton to isolate him, because I also think that he's still young and this is all new to him, and he's also discovering a team that is not functioning well. And for him, he looks lost to me in that back 3.
All right, a little bit of positivity corner to end this.
From a United point of view.
Yeah. So Mazraoui, I forget what the play was. I think it might have been one of the goals. He absolutely goes and takes a header off the post, right? He goes and I thought to myself, he's either going to break the goalpost or we're going to have a broken Mazraoui. Whatever else you want to think, you cannot fault that guy's commitment, right? Zirkzee, I thought was reasonable.
Yeah.
When he came on, that was good. Should he be?
He started.
Okay, but should he be starting at center forward? Because when he starts at center forward, people are like, "Oh, he's clumsy."
I thought he was okay in this game, starting.
Should he maybe be starting as one of the 10s, and then you put Amad Diallo at the wing back position, and at least you play the way you want to play. If you're gonna drop points, turn into a big learning exercise.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. But do you do that away at Fulham on Sunday night, on Sunday evening?
I want to see reaction. I want them to look. Listen, Manchester United are not going to be relegated. They are, going from memory, 14 points out of the Champions League positions. Yeah. Now, we've said that when he came in, he had 3 tasks. Evaluate his talent, and he's doing that. Although, weirdly, he plays Anthony against Southampton. Did he come on again last night? I don't know. I
no,
tried to wipe that out.
against Southampton.
But whatever. I knew he's on his way somewhere. We'll talk about that later. But evaluate talent. I presume he's doing that because he sees them every day. Teaches style of football.
Yeah.
And at least against certain teams when on the attacking end, there's a long way to go, but also get results so that you have the resources in the summer to recruit. Because I go back to this. United have made losses 4 consecutive years.
Yeah.
The Glazers are still in control of the purse strings. This will impact how you can reinforce in the summer. There will come a point when they look at the table. They're 14 points away from the Champions League right now, where they say, wait, we're not going to make the Champions League this year. Because they're 13th.
I mean, it's a given now, even now, we know.
You think it's even now?
It's not just even the 14 points, Gavi. It's that they're 13th in the table. So that's a lot of teams to jump over. Even if you keep winning, they will win some games as well between 12th and 2nd.
So that being the case, I wonder at some point, I think you just go out and you say, all right, screw this. We're not going to get relegated because, there's one team that belongs in League 2 right now, frankly. And there's still...
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, that's not in play, right? So maybe you go and you try to be more aggressive. Maybe, I'm not saying you give up on the points, but you say, if we're going to go down, let's go down at least learning something, right? Maybe do that. So. And that for me means, just as I said, Diallo on the wing, Diallo in the wing back role, and Xerxes. Because Xerxes at center forward is going to be a really, really tough sell for United fans, for Xerxes. We've said he's not an orthodox forward.
Yeah.
Højlund probably needs his confidence as much as you can give it to him. So give him minutes.
Yeah.
And then if you don't like him, go get somebody else this summer.
Yeah.
Do we think this is the way it's going to go? And at what point do you make that decision?
I don't know. Because I think they can go to Fulham on Sunday and be beaten again. I know they've got the Europa League. That might be some sort of silver lining somewhere for now.
Yeah, focus on that. Win the Europa League.
Yeah, but that's the best way for them to get into the Champions League. Is that? And I guess you can be a cup team, as we saw in the FA Cup against Arsenal too.
And two-legged format might be more suited.
Yeah, maybe. Because the league is you're 13th, and right now you play like a team that is 13th, and you are at the level of a team that is 13th in the Premier League.
Final word on Brighton. The players seem to come in and out. People are injured. You remember, I feel like a year ago, we're talking Hinchelwood and Ferguson, and I don't even know where these guys. Hinchelwood, I believe, is injured.
Yeah,
Ferguson's been in and out for a long time. I think he's probably injured too. It's pretty remarkable that they just chuck people in and stuff like this happens.
Yeah. I mean, they spend a lot of money in the summer too to make these squads a bit more with depth, competitive too. When you see Minte and Ruto scoring on Sunday, they are £40 million player. Whether we think they're worth that money or not, it doesn't matter so much. They paid 80 million for those two players. So, you would expect them to still have, despite injuries, have still some talent there. But it's still remarkable the way Özil, for his first 6 months in the league now, has had them playing. Yeah, it was not always perfect this season, but at times they show great qualities on the ball, off the ball too, loads of energy, lots of intensity, and they're fun to watch.
It's absolutely mad. Swiss Ramble, the GOAT of football finance bloggers, he calculated what everybody's kind of PSR capacity was this coming season. In other words, how much could they lose and still be compliant with PSR. Manchester City, as we said, something like 400 million. Yeah. You're like, wow, because of obviously they made a profit last 2 years. Brighton's was like £500 million.
Really?
It's completely demented.
Well done to them.
If Tony Bloom wanted to go and sign Neymar and Mbappe tomorrow, he probably could. All right, enough United. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Barcelona are held to a 1-1 draw at Getafe. Jules, it's 1 win in 8 in La Liga. But did they get bored the last?
They did get a bit bored the last. Although, again, they had plenty of chances. They, at times, were very good. At times, they were bored the last and could not really find a way in this very, very low and compact and defensive Getafe defense, as they do. They get, I guess, a bit unlucky on the goal too, of the rebound and the way it gets scored. But there's clearly something too in this. It's happening too much, Gabby, where they drop points by being not efficient enough, maybe, but maybe not too focused or not too switched on enough in those kind of games where you expect them to win Leganes and Las Palmas and Getafe and this is a team that is a young team, but still.
Lamine Yamal took 7 shots.
I know.
Which is pretty wild. I thought it was interesting too when Lewandowski comes off because he wasn't having any joy. And who comes on? Ferran Torres. And I'm thinking to myself, the lack of, and it's not Mark Gue, that is where you should have, maybe the Dani Olmo money, spend it there.
Yeah. And sticking with that game, Gabi, Alejandro Balde reported racist abuse to the referee, and the protocol was applied during the game. He repeated it as well on television after in his flash interviews. And we were hoping not to have to talk about this again, but here we are.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the protocol is a player hears racist abuse, he reports it to the referee. There's an announcement via the tannoy, and people around the pitch start paying attention. If specific attention, if it was from the area of the pitch or whatever. If it continues again, the game is suspended, and then the game resumes. And if it happens a third time, the match is abandoned. And people say, and this drives me crazy, like, oh, so this way the racists have 2 chances to racially abuse somebody. I'm like, I'm sorry, how else are you going to handle this?
Yeah.
Right? So that in and of itself is designed to stamp out the abuse that happens during the game and to make sure that the games can finish and players don't have to play in these conditions. There has to be the follow-up where Getafe, you're at the Coliseum, you identify the people, and then you ban them.
Yeah.
And it's starting to happen. They've passed laws in Spain. We're still not where we should be. A long way to go, but it happened at Valencia. Those guys got banned. I expect it to happen at Getafe. I expect Getafe to work with the authorities to make sure that these people, if they're identified, they don't go back into the stadium ever. Arsenal let a 2-goal lead at home slip away against Aston Villa, and it finishes 2-2. Jules, to me, there's a big Saliba-shaped hole in that defense. And by the way, Mikel Arteta afterwards saying, ooh, we're very, very concerned. Do you need to say that?
Like to say that about Saliba, you mean?
Yeah, like find a different way. You never talk about injuries. You didn't even tell us he was injured last time, right?
Yeah.
It seems like because everybody now is going to remember what happened when they had the was it a 6-point lead or whatever 2 years ago, and then it was like an 11-point turnaround.
Yeah, although it's not that serious for Saliba, it's just a little.
That's according to L'Equipe, because of course Arteta doesn't say. He just says we're very concerned.
No. But he will miss the Champions League game, the next two, the last two, and the Wolves game at the weekend. But after that, it should be fine. I think Sonny should be back for the City game. I think they just switched off for 8 minutes. They conceded 2 goals in 8 minutes, plus the post that Tielemans hit. I don't know what happened. I don't know how.
I know what happened. Let me help you. There's no Saliba there. Because there's no Partey is not a good defender.
Yeah.
Right? And he gives Dean way too much time. The other guy, Marino, or whatever, is not in the right. You need to have somebody who can talk and organize. And I think Saliba would have done that in that situation. And also, I felt at 2-0, he started inviting the pressure too much. You know Villa are going to come forward, but you're not set up to defend that way when Saliba's not there.
Yeah, no, maybe. I still think the goals that could have been avoided even without Saliba. The poor goal to concede, especially the second one. And then after that, they were better again, much better at 2-2, and just, again, not clinical enough to score a third one and get that win. They were not far, but you just can't switch off like this. Like this season, they don't have enough certainties. Liverpool are too good to let those kind of opportunities go. When you're 2-0 up at home, whoever you're facing, you should see the game out. So
Kai Havertz scored. Want to make a bet? He ends up with 20 to shush up the haters.
Yeah, let's hope so. Juventus beat Milan 2-0. And Gab, this was one of their best performances this season.
It really was. He made a bold choice, leaving out Vlahovic until 7 minutes at the end. Again, Vlahovic not happy. Yeah. Milan, I thought, were really, really disappointing. They looked to play on the break, on the counter. You thought they were playing like Real Madrid away from home or something. And then in the second half, this feels like Fonseca. All the bad things that happened under Fonseca are happening again. And Conceição came out and said it. Like, there's not enough hunger. Too many individual mistakes. Tomori put on his backside. Yeah. That was just an embarrassment. Theo Hernandez needs to have his head checked. He should. If this continues, I don't think he should be continue
the
playing.
First time you said that as well.
No, it's time and again. Others don't run around. Conceição is supposed to be, if Fonseca was Mr. Nice Guy, supposedly, Conceição is supposed to be Mr. Intensity. Let's see that.
Yeah.
Jules, we're not done because we have more quick hits.
Yes.
After being called an off-brand Andy Carroll, he was called something else. I'm just being polite. Darwin Nunez bags 2 injury time goals to help Liverpool win at Brentford 2-0. Jules, I don't know about you. I am happy for the guy.
Yeah, I'm happy as well. And to be fair, it looks like he bails out Liverpool in this game because he scored in 91st and 93rd minute. But
And he nearly gets himself sent off, too.
but they were very good before that. They had 37 shots in this game, away from home at Brentford. 37, 28 of them in the box. The XG is almost 3.5. I thought they were outstanding, just not clinical, obviously, until the 2 Darwin goals. But still very good, deservedly winners of this game. And Thomas Frank was so praising them after the game, and rightly so. But yeah, you're right. I'm glad that Darwin. But they all had their share, didn't they? Luis Diaz started really well. Jota had that very important goal at
Those
Forest.
guys are good. This guy is not.
He's good.
He's not. He is not. I'll say this about it. He has not lived up to his contract, obviously.
No.
Right? It was an enormous
He's still
deal.
a good player.
Well, what I would say is he's a guy who, even when he has finishing issues, which has been the case for most of his career since moving to Liverpool, he still gives you environment. He still gives you a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
He gives you physicality. He gives you energy. He's an agent of chaos up front. And I think there's a value in that for Liverpool.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he should have started this game against Brentford. He should have started at Forest. And I think Slot made a big mistake not to start him in both games and going for Luis Diaz, Luis Diaz, one, is not a 9, and 2, would always struggle, I think, against those very strong back 4x5, but really low blocks, like he did. And it's not me criticizing Luis Diaz to play in that. He played where he's asked to play and does what he can. But I just think it was a mistake for Slotner to have started Darwin in those 2 games. Real Madrid destroyed Las Palmas 4-1 despite going a goal down. And my boy, Kylian Mbappe shines again, Gab. They're back on top of the table.
So I think the XG in this was over 5. And they had 3 goals disallowed, including an absolute stunner from Fede Valverde.
Yeah.
One of Mbappe's goals was really good too. That was also disallowed.
Yeah.
Like, I think they absolutely needed this. You need the boost after what's happened. Las Palmas not very good, and you're back top of the table. And you face forward with that little tiny bit of tranquility. Also nice to see David Alaba come
back after more than a year.
392 days.
Yeah.
And Postecoglou switches to a back 3, and it blows up in his face badly as Spurs are 3-0 down at halftime, en route to a 3-2 defeat. Jules, they're 15th. I know we're going to criticize Spurs. Can you also show some love for Davy Moyes and especially Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who has scored his first goal since, I believe, the Cameron administration?
Yeah. We come to David Moyes and Calvert-Lewin. Let us destroy Spurs first, and then Postecoglou. What was that about? I know there's injuries. I know not everybody is fit. He said he had 12 fit players or kind of fit players, 11 plus Richarlison on the bench. That back 3 made no sense whatsoever. They were embarrassing, to say the least. The first half, they should have been 5-0 down against an Everton team that had scored 1 in 5 games or something like that. I'd never scored 3 in the first half of a game since literally the dinosaurs. It was just that bad from Spurs. And yeah, in the end, they have 1 goal in garbage time, you always say, with Richarlison. Before that, Kulusevski with a lovely finish. But this was pathetic, really pathetic. And I'm sorry, Ange, this is on you too. It's on you. You're 15th in the table. The form since March has been dreadful. I think only Wolves has more defeat than them in the last 38 games.
He's had a ton of injuries.
But even at the end of last season, Gabby, he didn't have any injuries, and they were still bad between March and May. Yeah. This is not just now. I don't know. He's going to keep his job because they're still in the League Cup semi-final and in the Europa League. But this was horrible.
Wait, winning the League Cup keeps you in a job at Spurs? Go tell Jose Mourinho that.
Well, at least reach the final first, and then you get sacked before the final. Bayern, and a bit of love for David Moyes. I know you want to. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, to be fair, Spurs made this Everton team look like Barca 2011.
I'm sorry. Archie Gray is 18, so we're supportive, and you're young and developing, not a center back. Although I don't watch the championship. I'm told he played some right back last year.
A lot of right back last year.
He had a terrible game. Learn from it, move on, right?
Yeah.
But let's at least acknowledge this, because it seems like when things go bad, oh look, Dragusin's rubbish, Ange's rubbish, Poro's rubbish, Emerson Royale cost them the game, even though he doesn't play for them anymore. No, I often see a pattern here in the criticism that Spurs receive.
Or just foreign players, you mean?
A certain type.
But yeah, for Moyes, that energy that they showed in that game, we'd never seen before in the Dutch this season. And for Calvert-Lewin, no games in 17. Then you play Spurs and you look like Ronaldo, the Brazilian. So, hey, they probably wish they play Spurs every
Dominic
week.
Calvert-Lewandowski to
Exactly, yeah. Bayern beat Wolfsburg 3-2 to stay top of the Bundesliga. But Gab, did they make life difficult for them in the end?
you. They did. Do not be fooled. Not a good performance. No. Not a good performance. You can look at the XG. The XG were over 3, because they took 1 billion shots.
Yeah.
Most of them bad shots. The first 2 goals were just low percentage shots from outside the area. And on one of them, the Camille Grabara laid an absolute egg in the Wolfsburg goal. You're 3-1 up. See the game out. No, let's concede another goal just because. Only good news, Goretzka played a blinder. But again, it's the kind of thing where Goretzka plays a blinder against Wolfsburg and then goes away again. Puts them back on the shelf. There's more to be done, and Harry Kane's goal drought continues. Paris Saint-Germain come from behind to win at Lens 2-1 as my boy Speedy Barcola shows he can, in fact, finish. Shut up the haters, Barcola. Jules, you like what you see out of the huge clash with City on Wednesday?
I didn't like the first half so much because it was a bad half, and Luis Enrique made loads of changes. He played Nuno Mendes as the number 8, which didn't work. There was no Hakimi, no Marquinhos, no Dembele. And Lens had a good team, especially at the Stade Bollard. Second half was much better from PSG, and that second goal especially, 6 passes from one box to the other. Great assist by Neves, great finish, even better by
He
Barcola.
can finish.
And Luis Enrique said he's been exceptional this season, and we know he didn't score for 10 games, and this goal would be great for him, especially with Kvaratskhelia coming over. And that's just perfect before that massive game on Wednesday where I'm going to, and I'm dreading it already. So we'll see. Huge win for Napoli as Romelu Lukaku scores the late winner to make it 3-2 away at Bergamo against Atalanta. Gab, the Conte method is working.
This is really, really big because you remember Atalanta went to Naples, spanked them 3-0. Atalanta, this was the kind of game where if you watch it, you say, okay, well, there were evident defensive mistakes for Atalanta, and Napoli punished them. But equally, I think Napoli didn't concede that much, well, apart from the 2 goals, obviously, but it is Atalanta away, who are really tough out. And you can see how Conte, I mean, he looks at the table, and I've got 17 games left to go, and we don't play in any other competitions, and I can go and I can play with this kind of defensive intensity. I would like to see a little more from them. Lukaku, 8 goals and 6 assists this season, only playing in Serie A. And there's a wonderful story that's out there, which is, Lukaku often has concerns because he's a big boy, right? About his weight and his size and stuff like that. And as the story goes, Conte would weigh him in the summer in training camp, but he would have his one of his assistants manipulate the scale. So he would always look a couple kilograms heavier than he really was. Yeah. And Lukaku would get angry and say, and Conte would shout at him and be like, but I haven't eaten anything, blah, blah, blah. And and supposedly that's part of Conte lore. Yeah. That's why Conte's Conte. Manchester City unleash a can of whoop ass on Ipswich, winning 6-0 on the road. Jules, did you learn anything other than Phil Foden, 5 goals and 3?
Yeah, again, I learned that probably this was KDB's best game for the last 18 months or so. He looked really good for the hour that he played. He didn't need to play more because the match was won already. And Doku and KDB combined really, really well. So it's better with the ball for sure than what they were a month ago. And Ipswich were so bad.
Yeah, not good.
And sticking with City, Gab, Erling Haaland signed this monster contract through 2030 for 10 years. What does that tell you?
We had a lot of debates about this. What does it tell you? So first of all, I believe there are still clauses in the contract, even though City briefed everybody. No, there aren't any, just like there supposedly weren't any before. He's not getting a big bump. I think, again, that shows in wages. I think that also shows that the current climate that they're in, there is a little bit of deflation. It's a big piece in there, and it shows that they're confident going into the 130 charges. Florentino Perez has been re-elected as president of Real Madrid. Jules? This comes as a shock.
Massive. I really didn't think he could get fifth term. Is that right?
Yeah, why not? There's no term limits.
I think, and I think, was he the only candidate too? Because as we know, the rules are made as such that it's very difficult for whoever wants to try to be elected.
Yeah, to be a candidate, you need a certain number of years as a club member. You need a certain number of years on on some kind of board, and you
lot
need
of
to have
zeros on your bank account too.
yeah, you need to have like I think a personal guarantee of something like 90 million euros, which very few people have.
Yeah, but Florentino, you've also been very successful. So in a way,
I will say this: my one thing that I
deserves
never
it.
hear coming from him or from Real Madrid is succession. Right?
yeah,
Florentino's now in his mid-70s.
as long as he's fit to.
Yeah, he's fit, but at some
preside.
point he's going to slow down,
Yeah,
right?
at some point, but
May he
then-
live to be 120 years old. But the point is, I would like him to go and share a plan for the future of Real Madrid, so that at some point, we're not the club's not left in a mess.
Yeah, true. Manchester United and Scotland legend Dennis Law has passed away at 84 years of age, Gab, this weekend.
Yeah, I had the privilege of meeting him more than once, actually. Like, really, really charming guy. Look, he retired before I was born, so I've only seen him, in 2 dimensions on screens. But obviously, a phenomenal footballer. Was part of the famous Manchester United team with the 3 Ballon d'Ors with George Best and Bobby Charlton. He was actually the first to win the Ballon d'Or.
He was indeed, yeah.
Back in 1964. Still Scotland's all-time leading goal scorer for the national team. Although I looked this up, Kenny Dalglish got to 30 goals, just winning Dennis Law. And then what? You're not going to keep King Kenny around? Just take a penalty or something just so we can get the record? I thought it was, but whatever. No, a real class act, a gentleman. And of course, also played for Manchester City.
Yeah,
also played for Torino as well. And of course, the story, which I'm assured is true, Dennis Bergkamp was named for Dennis Law, which I know sounds made up to me, but so many people have said so. I haven't heard from Bergkamp's dad.
Yeah.
So everybody states it as fact. So
I think Dennis himself has said it. And
well, Dennis would know, right? How would Dennis possibly know?
No, his dad told him. And
Yeah, his dad-
also, Dennis has 2 ends.
Yes, of
because
course,
they-
it's spelled the same way.
No, not the same way, because he was not allowed in Holland to register his son with just 1 N, like my dad was called Denis, or like Dennis Law. So Dennis Bergkamp has 2 Ns because of that. They were
Or
not
the
allowed.
stadium Saint Denis.
Yeah, or something.
So much for that Newcastle United winning streak, Jules. Bournemouth win 4-1 at St. James Park. They're now 1 point out of 4th place. They've had an incredible run of injuries,
9
and
players.
still they rise like dust.
Yeah.
Andoni Iraola, he's a genius, yeah?
Yeah, he's the manager of the season for me. Without
Arne
that,
Slot, thank you.
I mean,
Yep.
Slot has the best
Nuno, yep.
squad. But Nuno's style of football is not for me. Whereas Iraola's style of football is for me. That's what I love. I'm not too keen on Nuno's style, although he's very effective and we give him credit for that all the time. But this is not my cup of tea. Whereas what Bournemouth are doing is wonderful, I think. The intensity, the way they play with the ball, even without a proper number 9 like Evan Nilsson, because he's one of the 9 players that are injured currently for them. They still go out to Newcastle and literally play that off the park. They dominated in every single department. And I think United were even lucky to score 1, to be fair. The way they kept Isak quiet and Gordon quiet, the way they dominate the midfield. And maybe I think the mistake that Eddie Howe made in this game is that he kept the same starting 11 again. And I think all of them have played so much lately, but which is normal because they won 9 in a row. So there was not much rotation being made there. And that I think they paid for that, because against this Bournemouth side, that press is so they are the most intense team in the league.
Right.
You have to be at your best physically, otherwise you're not going to make it.
You know what? I think until you see Bournemouth play in the flesh, which is hard to do in Bournemouth because their stadium is teeny tiny. I had the privilege of seeing them against Chelsea last week. You don't appreciate how coordinated everything is. They were poor in the first half against Chelsea. It bravely makes a change, moves, puts in a striker for a midfielder. For his right back, moves Lewis Cook to right back, and they go again. And then it's honestly, it's really special.
Yeah.
And you wonder what he could do with better players.
Yeah,
No disrespect, Justin.
Yeah, but that's why for me he's the manager of the season. Lautaro is hitting form, Gabi. Leads Inter with a lovely goal to a 3-1 win over Empoli.
Yeah, obviously it's entirely different when Lautaro's firing, and big win for Inter, because obviously with Napoli winning the day before, it means that if they win their game in hand, they go joint top of the table, and it's very much a head-to-head. People were critical of Inter because it took them a while to score. But again, I don't want to be a broken record. There's no Hakan Çalhanoğlu. That's an issue. But also there's no Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan came on. He's just coming back from injury. Mkhitaryan, I think, can maybe fill in for Shala better than our boy Aslani can.
Yeah.
I love giving him minutes, and I'm waiting for him to turn the corner, but it's just not happening.
Step up, yeah, he's not stepping
Mehdi Taremi, not great. He's going through a tough spot.
Yeah, but Marcus scored, which is I think 14th this season, which is the best he's ever had in one domestic season in the league. So
Marcus Thuram,
Yeah.
well, comes off the
Amazing.
bench,
Yeah,
and gets it
scored.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good weekend for the entire Thuram
Yeah.
family in Italy. Actually.
Yeah, very good weekend. You're right.
Atletico Madrid's winning streak ends at 15 in a row as they lose at Leganés, get leapfrogged by Real Madrid on the table, and your boy Antoine Griezmann misses a penalty.
One of the worst penalties that I think he's ever taken, not even on target. It's so, I don't know, it's so poor. The penalty, they had plenty of chances. They hit the woodwork twice. They should have won it. They didn't win it. It's funny in a way that the 15-game winning streak comes to an end in a game like this where there've been games in those 15 that they won that they didn't deserve to win, really. There's somewhere they rode their luck a little bit, albeit, like, for example, the Barca game. And in this one, where really they were by far the better team and should have won it, they didn't. So it shows you what football is about, really.
Yeah, I hope Simeone, I'm sure he realizes this and doesn't say, oh, I need to change to freshen up the team. No.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep putting pressure on Real Madrid.
Yeah. So another 2 goals for Florian Wirtz as he leads Bayern Leverkusen to a 3-1 win over Borussia Mönchengladbach. Gab, they stay in second place, 4 points behind Bayern.
So you know how I've been kind of unimpressed when he does the thing where he plays all the defensive midfielders, like the Shaka, and then all the off-brand Shakas next to him, and then he's got Frimpong and Grimaldo as wingers. He didn't do that in this game. No. Guys are fit. Nathan Tella, width on the right, a proper attacking width.
Yeah.
On the left, I've got I'm blanking. Oh, your boy Thierry,
who got
right?
injured, love him, out for the rest of the season.
He got injured again.
Yeah, out for the rest of the
I
season.
hope he doesn't go back. Well, Hoffman, thankfully, is back. And Victor Boniface, very close to returning as well. They're so much better when they do this. They race to 3-0 lead. Florian Wirtz, again, doing his whole unplayable routine. My man Patrick Schick scoring as well. And, then they gave up a goal late. Doesn't matter. But they are just so much more dominant, so much better. They're just not suited to playing that other way.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest stay level on points with Arsenal behind Liverpool as they beat Southampton 3-2. Jules, when will they start dropping points?
It's a good question, Gab.
If they played for another 10 minutes, they might have dropped points in this game.
I don't think so. But they play the next 6 Premier League games are against teams of the top 10. So they play Bournemouth, they play Fulham, they play Newcastle, they play Arsenal, they play City. And there's a 6th one, I can't remember who. Brighton. That's it. So this is a proper test, home and away, some of those fixtures. We will see. I think they are better when they can play with a low block and counter attack. That's where they are their best. This is their identity. Although against Southampton they were 3-0 up and cruising before conceding 2 on set pieces and being a little bit under pressure. But those 6 games to come are massive test to see their resilience and how far they can go really this season. Welcome back in Bochum, Gab. Leipzig were 3-0 up at half-time and you can't make it up. Have to settle for a point. They implode again.
I'm lost for words. Okay, so there was no SOS because, of course, as we told you on the
suspended.
last episode, 2/3 of the SOS, Benjamin Seco and Loic Openda, decided to pick up second yellows needlessly and get themselves suspended for this game. That's okay. It's only Bochum. Yeah, only Bochum. No Bochum. Yeah, okay. So you go 3-0 up and you can't sustain the lead. Now, I appreciate Nusa and Baumgartner up front. Not the same thing.
No.
But this defending,
again.
God. Marco Rosa, there's 2 things. There's stuff you do with the ball, stuff you do off the ball. And I know, but we press. No. This isn't about pressing. This is about having people switched on in the right positions, not taking unnecessary risks when you're 3-0 up. Well done, Bochum. They kept believing. They were 3-0 up. I think it was halfway through the first half.
Yeah. They scored 2 in the first 10 minutes or something. It was an impressive start, and then you knew it would collapse in the second half.
Yeah, you go and check out the highlights. Incidentally, Andre Silva on the naughty step.
Yeah.
I wonder if he can find a home.
Surely he has to.
He's
better than being on the bench all the time for this Leipzig side.
I assume Poulsen's injured because we didn't see him. Why can't... Well, whatever. I can't question the genius of that organization. Marseille are held at home by Strasbourg 1-1. Jules, the gap is now 9 points. I'm on the verge of writing them off. Are you?
Yeah, I think 9 is probably too much. We said there's another classic to come in Paris. So Marseille can maybe, if they win that, bridge that gap a little bit. But this PSG team still unbeaten, by the way. And as we saw against Lens, very resilient, still hard to beat even now, even when they go a goal down, for example. So it's hard, I think, for Marseille. This was not too bad. And Strasbourg, they're young, good team. And Andre Santos was very good. He gave away the penalty. But apart from that, I thought he was outstanding. And I think very soon, maybe not just now, but maybe next season, maybe the season after, I think Chelsea could do really well with calling him or having him back and playing him, because I think he's going to be that great.
So then they can move Caicedo permanently to right back.
Yeah, it could be good. So not too bad for Marseille. Still unbeaten, obviously, since the switch in formation for De Zerbi. But yeah, they will feel at home against Strasbourg. That is 2 points really drops. Gab, this was way back on Friday, but Claudio Ranieri's Roma beat Patrick Vieira's Genoa 3-1, and they are now top of the in the top half of the table.
They are, yes, 6 games unbeaten.
Lovely,
They've trundled up the league.
Claudito.
Paulo Dybala seems to have really responded to crazy Claudio.
Yeah.
He was the emergency, kind of like the emergency pill, and he's getting the job done. They're looking at maybe bringing another striker, although I think Dovbik's actually playing
He's hitting
better
form
now.
now. He scored again, yeah.
He's hitting form. I don't mind the Dovbik Dybala Pellegrini, the DDP, the Diamond Dallas Page of Roma, but no, they're looking at options, and but yeah, look, Roma fans, I mean, they deserve a team that's in the Europa League
definitely.
or Champions League.
Definitely.
Also Friday, no Omar Marmoush. I wonder why.
Me too.
But Eintracht Frankfurt rolled to a 2-0 win over Borussia Dortmund. Jules, do you want to praise Dino Topmuller? Or are we going to be mean to Nuri Sahin, whose team seems to get worse just as his injured guys return?
Yeah, exactly. First, let's praise Dino Topmuller, because there's a wonderful season by Frankfurt. Let's see what they do with that. Marmoush is obviously going to Manchester City, and who partners Ekitike up front. We saw another Haaland, one of the twins, scoring.
Yeah.
Late in that game. First goal since he moved to Frankfurt from Copenhagen, which is really good for him. Obviously,
he's not really a striker, though. He's more of a midfielder,
He's more an attacking midfielder, yeah. So he won't be the one replacing Marmoush. They like Eli Wahi at Marseille, like West Ham do, and other clubs. So let's see. And for Nuri Sahin, I don't know, they're 10th in the table. I've got no words. I think he needs to get sacked. He's not the right guy for that club. I know he's a club legend, but it's just not working. Even, as you say, Gabi, with players coming back from injury, they are too average, and he clearly can't get the best out of this team. So it's okay. He can get it wrong. He's fine.
I feel like there's club legends by Borussia Dortmund standards who are above him, who sign these players and keep him in the job. I would like to see them questioned too, if you're going to question Nuri Sahin.
Absolutely. Chelsea kick off in a few hours on Monday evening as we record this show. But with reports in Italy linking Joe Felix to Milan, could he be on his way, Gab? And would you be happy?
So, first of all, there's obviously in Italy we've all become massive Anglophiles, right?
Yeah.
Trying to bring in players from England and indeed from Scotland too. Many good ones, led by Liam Ferguson, of course. But the João Felix, this has, and obviously that's a reference to Kyle Walker. Ibrahimovic spoke about him. I do not like this deal at all. It makes.
Why are they doing it?
I don't know. The latest was look, we're going to sell Tomori to Juventus. Or sent Tomori to Juve, like we sent Kalulu to Juve. By the way, Kalulu's done much better at Juve this season than any Milan defender. Yeah. And look, let's bring in Kyle Walker. I don't get this one bit. Makes no sense. I know, it's Emerson. Maybe he doesn't like Emerson Royal. I don't know. It's okay. A lot of people don't like him.
Yeah.
But it's freaking Kyle Walker on loan for 6 months. Whatever. But back to João Felix. Hey, what can I say? Uncle George.
George.
What it does tells me, if I'm Chelsea, I've lost Mudryk for a long period of time. You know my thoughts on João Felix. I'm pretty sure Enzo Maresca's thoughts on João Felix are aligned with mine.
Yeah. But
I need another winger, don't I? I mean, I don't.
Surely if João Felix goes, he's being replaced by somebody, right? They're like Jeremiah from...
you know what? Jeremy Pino?
No, from Deportivo, no?
Whoever they like, they also have a PSR situation. Because Milan aren't going to pay you money. You just got João Felix for whatever that essentially was one of those bogus swaps for Conor Gallagher, right? So in the books, if memory serves, I think it's 45 million, something like that. Plus, of course, João Felix makes an absolute fortune, right? So with that in mind, if you just send him on loan to Milan, yeah, you may get a chunk of his wages off your books, but he's going to come back. So you can't go and spend money on somebody else.
True. Yeah, it has
unless
to
you're
be a
going to sell
transfer.
somebody.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't know. You know my thoughts. I think Joao Felix would not be helpful at Milan.
I mean, at a time where Sergio Conceição wants intensity and hunger, I'm not sure
that's
Joao
exactly.
Felix.
But you know what, Uncle George.
Yeah, Uncle
I
George,
think this is.
absolutely.
I think
this
people,
is so George Mendes.
Yeah, but look, the same way Milan rebuffed them with that Trincao nonsense.
Yeah, true.
Remember Milan? Oh, Conceição is going to bring Trincao. No. Like Uncle George, if you're going to bring your clients to Milan, in the name of Milan, I'm not a Milan fan, but in the name of Milan fans, bring the good ones.
Please.
Do not bring the malcontents, the weirdos. And the frustrating thing, by the way, Joao Felix, I'm not questioning his technical ability. If he came to Milan, just as he is the most technically gifted player at Chelsea, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You even put him ahead of Cole Palmer because Palmer's one-footed by his own admission, right?
Yeah.
In fact, even in the whole Premier League, there's not many, right? We've had this conversation before.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can count them on two fingers, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Right? It's Kevin De Bruyne and Kevin De Bruyne. Is there anybody else?
No, I mean...
Who's more technically gifted than Joao Felix?
I don't think there would be...
De Bruyne, maybe.
Yeah, KDB probably, and yeah, you're right. That's probably...
Salah?
The Salah again is one-footed.
But he's one-footed,
yeah.
So, whatever. Monaco slip up again, losing in Montpellier. Jules, they haven't won a league game since December 7th.
Yeah.
They're out of the Coupe de France.
Yeah.
I know, they're young, blah, blah, blah. This is on Adi Hutter, yeah?
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting, Gabby, is that last year they struggled at the same time. Start of the year, again, had this really bad patch when they were top of the league, really competing with PSG, and they fell massively after the new year. And this is exactly the same. Well, it started even more. It started after that Benfica defeat when they were 2-1 up with 5 minutes to go, down to 10 men, but still, and they conceded 2 goals to lose 3-2, and they've never looked the same really ever since. They've had injuries too. They've given a new deal to Adi Hutter, which obviously was a great inspiration from the club. And now this is where they are. It's tricky, and they play Aston Villa in the Champions League on Tuesday night. And okay, they at least qualify for the playoff for sure, maybe even top 8. So we'll see. But yeah, it's not good at all. And they were 1-0 up against Montpellier, bottom of the table, who could not beat anybody for 3 months. And then they conceded 2 goals in the second half to lose 2-1. It was bad, really, really bad.
It's time! It's Texter time! Lyon are held at home by Toulouse, which isn't great for our hero. But at least John Texter got to troll Cristiano Ronaldo over the Thiago Almada signing, Jules.
So I haven't seen the trolling.
Okay, so basically what they did is when they made Cristiano Ronaldo kept making fun of Ligue 1, saying that it was worse than the Saudi League and blah, blah, blah. And basically, they I guess in the video that they made for Thiago Almada's signing, Thiago Almada, by the way, comes on loan because, of course, they can't afford anybody.
And unless they can only have loan player
unless they find money anyway. They said, hey, Thiago, don't listen to Cristiano Ronaldo. So, you know he didn't appreciate that.
And to be fair, Thiago Almada was on the bench in this game, which was dire. Really, I mean, Toulouse were good. Lyon were horrible, really horrendous. At the end, the Lyon Ultras called, as they do sometimes, called the players to come and see them at the bottom of their stands. Apparently, he was not too toxic or too tense, but still, Lyon have been terrible since the turn of the year. Thiago Almada, who's arrived on loan, as we sent from Botafogo, free loan, will do them a lot of good because they didn't create anything at all this weekend. And you know what they're hoping as well, Gabby? Luis Enrique, the Botafogo winger, the Brazilian international, has been sold to Zenit for 37 million euros.
Yeah,
from
sanctions.
Botafogo.
Yeah, sanctions, schmanctions.
And they're also hoping that those 37 million on their way from Zenit to Botafogo will just stop by in Lyon, stay there in the club's account for a little bit so the French financial fair play can look at it and say, okay, and then maybe make their way back to Botafogo. God knows.
So, there's this thing with ultras calling players over at the end of games.
To tell them off. Yeah.
To applaud them and tell them off. A lot of clubs do this. Happens at many clubs in Serie A. Happens at Bayern in Germany.
In Germany,
where you have
France.
You don't see it here in the Premier League. I think they're just, there are no ultras here, but also they're specifically told, keep your distance, right? So they all kind of applaud for them a little bit. But I was wondering, have they ever called JT over?
No.
Has John Textor ever gone under the ultras, either to get applause or
No,
or
but remember there was it 2 years ago? But he's never there. He's really there.
Where
So
is
it's
he?
hard.
He's here in London all the time, isn't he?
Yeah, but he rarely goes to games, which is the same with a lot of foreign owners when you think about it.
Roman Abramovich came to Chelsea regularly.
Yeah, true.
Sheikh Mansour, not so much.
That's true. Julian Lopetegui is being linked to the vacant Belgium national team job. Gab, would it be a good choice, do you think?
I like Lopetegui. I'm not sure I like Lopetegui as a national team coach.
Yeah.
Just simply his approach. I think he needs, again, one of those guys who needs more time on the training pitch to really move the needle. I think despite the fact that he's an Uncle George guy, I think he's actually one of the good guys.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that what went wrong at West Ham in his most recent job. Yeah, I'm surprised. This sounds like something that's maybe agents put in. Maybe even
but you
Uncle
know
George?
also he's in the running?
Who?
Rudy Garcia.
Rudy Garcia.
Yeah, he's
Wait,
in the
but-
running for this job. So obviously Tedesco has been sacked now, so they need somebody.
So
I don't know. They're just looking at rejects from clubs where he hasn't worked out for them.
Speaking of Rudy Garcia, where you were here, Rob Palmer was in for you. The sort of when we reacted to Didier Deschamps announcing that he was going to leave either before or after the 2026 World Cup, and the three names that came up as possible substitutes, were Zidane, not a surprise, even though he hasn't coached in a million years. Thierry Henry, who of course applies for every job under the sun. And the third was Rudy Garcia. I'm thinking to myself, Rudy Garcia, what's the
know.
story there?
But I think it's more the fact that for someone like him, well, like all those kind of former players who became good coaches, Christophe Galtier would be the same. I think Genesio would be the same.
but no.
Patrick, Thierry.
Galtier and Genesio wouldn't have surprised me, but Rudy Garcia
He won the double
mentioned
in France.
alongside Zidane.
I know, but he won the double. I think you look more at who's available, who's on the market, who doesn't have a job. Thierry, Zidane,
Right.
Garcia, and he still has, I think he probably has quite a high reputation in France for winning that double with Lille, to be fair.
By the way,
Even if
he
he was
won
like
the-
a million years ago.
I was going to say, he
Yeah.
won the double with a very young Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard, who has since retired from football.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him.
Guess who's back? Back again. 3 years after leaving Manchester United. 3 years in which he's no doubt turned down a million different jobs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is back at the helm. This time it's Besiktas.
Oh.
Jules, you're a big fan of Solskjaer, not Besiktas.
Am I? Like this. This is complete for me. It's just like why are Besiktas going for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when they're sixth in the table, 20 points? They're not having a good season. 20 points behind Galatasaray, who are leading the Turkish Super League. I just don't know. Why would you go for Solskjaer? 3 years without a job.
It's so bizarre. Why would you give him 18 months?
Yeah.
It's just a way of giving him more money. If you want to say, hey, look, we got nothing to lose, get us into the Europa League next season, and then we see how it goes, you're Besiktas. You have the power to do that. Otherwise, give the job to a cheaper, up-and-coming
Absolutely.
Turkish manager and see where they can lead you, and then take your time and see where you can go in the summer. I don't know. I feel bad for Besiktas because I do have a soft spot simply because I'm not one of those guys who gets super excited by stadiums. I am definitely not a stadium nerd. But the Besiktas Stadium, I've said this
amazing.
before, in Istanbul,
Amazing.
is one of the most spectacularly situated stadiums in the world.
It is. So good luck to Besiktas and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, obviously. And sticking with them, that was Dele Alli's last club. Somehow, Gabi, a long time ago, and he has now signed for Como and our friend Cesc Fabregas.
So I wasn't going to mention this at all because I understand Como trying to do things differently. Ooh, look, we're the cool boutique club, and look, there's George Clooney's villa,
Superstars,
and
fans, yeah.
it's still Como, right? And I love it. They have like a little marina next to the stadium, and it's like, look, we're kind of like Monaco. I'm like, no, you're not. And by the way, I can say this. This is my part of the world,
of
right?
course,
This is my
absolutely.
backyard.
Yeah.
No, because like in November, it's foggy and crappy from like November to March.
Yeah.
And that's not when Clooney's there. So I don't get this. And then on top of that, your idea is Dele Alli. Dele Alli has not played football since February 26th, 2023.
Yeah, that's
now,
2
more
years.
recently than Solskjaer has coached,
Yeah, true.
but still, we're talking like nearly 2 years. I was watching a report on Sky Italia last night. They're like, oh, like Cesc Fabregas hopes to have Dele Alli available in the next 3 to 4 weeks. I'm thinking like, sorry, why isn't he available now? Why isn't he fit now? Yeah, what?
Because I think he's been training on his own. Now he's been training with the team for the last 2 weeks or so.
But he's still not fit.
But he's not match fit.
Okay, but why are you signing him? You're going to be. Well, I don't know if they will be relegated. I don't think they're in the bottom three, right? Yeah. They're close, right?
Yeah.
But why are you spending money on something when just focus on staying up? What are you gonna have this guy play 10 games?
Maybe a pay-as-you-go contract where he actually doesn't cost them that much.
These stupid publicity stunts. Like I'm all for it if it's somebody creative and likable and whatever. But this guy, seriously.
I know.
Anthony has been linked with a loan move to Betis. Speaking of very likable people.
Yeah.
Jules, is this where he relaunches his career or just where he gives Pellegrini more gray hairs?
I think relaunching seems strong to me. I'm not sure his career would ever be relaunched. It's not us being mean. It's just like we know now he's just an average player. So he will go to an average team. I mean, Betis, to be fair, not good
should
right
be a
now.
lot better than they are.
Yeah, exactly. They're not good right now. They should be better. Is he improving them? I'm not too sure either. But at least I think just a change of scenery from Manchester and go, especially I think to La Liga is probably the league in the Big Five that suits him the most. Probably a good idea in itself. I'm not sure if Betis is a good idea. I'm not sure this is a good idea for Betis. But for him, definitely just leave Manchester. It's not good for you. It hasn't been good for you. You need to do something else anyway.
He's also somebody who, like Garnacho, just simply does not have a position at this club because he's a winger. Now, if you had to bet on somebody to adapt to playing inside, you would bet on Garnacho. You would not bet on this dude.
Definitely. Let's check back in on Neymar, Gabby.
Okay, so this is where we're part of the mainstream media. We hype things up and big names and blah, 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 and Cristiano and Messi. For some reason, Neymar's in the same boat. But this is just stupid, right? So I went back. So last week after we did the show on Thursday, it was like, oh, Neymar to the Chicago Fire. They have their... Sorry, no, even before that, remember, he was linked to Inter Miami so he could reform the MSN. Chicago Fire have his discovery rights. I don't know what that is. It's some sort of stupid MLS thing.
Yeah. They went over to
Neymar.
Riyadh to see him.
For
see Al Hilal.
I mean, seriously, really, why? What are you, stupid? Are you really? Really?
Well,
I would love to know who went over there.
I think our friend, Greg Berhalter seems to have gone with the franchise CEO.
I'd be very disappointed if that were the case.
But if you want to
you
sign
want a free tip to Riyadh to see the stadium?
No, you go and see him. It's better in person. To try to present your project or whatever they wanted to do with him.
I would, whatever.
But you question more the fact that they want him or the fact that they went to see him? Because going to see him, that's fine.
MLS clubs have teeny tiny budgets. But whatever. Yeah, no, whatever. I would question the fact that they want him. I would question the fact that anybody's interested in this nonsense. The next day, what does he say? Well, the possibility of me staying in Saudi after my contract exists. Let's see. In 6 months, a lot can change. This is a direct quote from him. Yeah. He was on Romario's YouTube channel. Yeah. Sorry, what?
He's not even going to be registered to play in the Saudi League for the second half of the season.
The possibility of you staying in Saudi, as a non-football player? Well, you're going to go get a job at Neom or something?
But I think the idea is to go on loan between now and the end of the season, and at the end of the season, then you see what you do, really.
At the end of the season, you'll be a free agent.
Yeah. But
so what, you're going to extend?
But no, but Al Hilal might say, we offer you something, but not 100 million.
Listen.
He earns 100 million
Al Hilal,
euros a year, Gab. 100 million a year.
Al Hilal may have made mistakes. I refuse to believe they're morons. They've been ripped off. They're going to stop putting money into this money pit. True. And by the way, the next day, what is the one? Oh, it's almost certain now he's going to go to Santos on loan, which, by the way, is where it all began.
Yeah.
And what the original story was. Before then, it got Santos, Corinthians, Palmeiras, Miami,
in Brazil, it would only be Santos.
I would hope so.
And really...
I would hope so.
So it's between MLS. He's not going to stay in Saudi. So it's between MLS.
This is what I understand about these people, right?
Santos.
Dude, you've made more money than you could ever waste for the next 5 generations. Even if you father another 20 children, they will all be millionaires for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Why did you decide not to? I won't make this about money. I'm going to make it about football. I'm going to go, I'm going to get fit. I'm going to play someplace where they like me and where I have fun. And I'm not going to make money an issue. Maybe that place is Santos. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
But I hate the fact that every time that this guy's turned into like a little corporation. And it just bugs me.
I know.
Renee Slegers has the Arsenal women's gig on a permanent basis, Jules. They're 7 back at the halfway point, which, by the way, in the Women's Super League means there's only 11 games to go because obviously there's only 12 teams in it. This is a good long-term choice. I mean, I don't think they're going to come back.
I think she deserves it. I think she's been great since taking over as an interim coach, first from Jonas Eidevald when she did, both in the Champions League and in the league as well. And I know 7 points seems far, but it's because Chelsea are just flying. And they've been flying since day one. So Arsenal have tried to keep that gap not too big, and she's done that. And maybe at the start she was not the favorite to take over permanently. And there were other candidates, loads of candidates actually. But now she deserved it. She showed, she proved. The girls really like her. Everybody at the club likes her. It's well deserved completely.
And she's a cheap and cheerful option as well.
Yeah, but it's not so much even about that. It's just I think she's
but
good enough.
This is somebody who's younger and hungry
true.
and whatever.
True.
And look, in reality, one of the things in the women's game is there's such an imbalance of resources. Because let's not kid ourselves, right? All these clubs survive on owner contributions or really, which is really because the main business of the club is the men's team, right? On the subsidy that they get. And so if I have to go and spend a lot of money on a women's coach, yeah, sure. If it's Emma Hayes, fine. But if it's anybody else, I'm like, I would rather go for the person who's young. I think she's 35, 36? Who's young, who's hungry, who's there already, like you said. The players like her and go from there.
Definitely. FIFA banned Manuel Arias, the president of the Panama FA, for 6 months. What did he do, Gab?
So they have a midfielder named Marta Cox. And by the way,
I saw her play. She scored an amazing goal against France at the last World Cup.
Well, Panama's women's team qualified for the last World Cup, obviously, which is kind of a feat, I think, for Panama's a small country.
She's the best player by far, probably men and women combined.
So stop it.
No, I promise you, she's really good.
Deli Valdez is still with us, right?
No, I mean current players.
But she came out. She criticized the national team setup, the resources available to women to them, whatever. It's a common complaint,
of course.
And he responded by calling her fat. Now, I want to be very, very clear on this point. People said, I saw a headline. I think it was the Guardian's like, or maybe it was our site. I don't know. Like, you suspended for fat shaming her, right? First of all, fat shaming is when you call somebody fat who is fat, right? Marta Cox is not fat. Secondly, I think it's fair with women professional athletes if we think that they are heavier than their playing weight, heavier than they should be. In the same way Romelu Lukaku gets this all the time, the same way Eden Hazard gets it all the time, there's no reason Marta Cox, if she was overweight and unfit, shouldn't get the criticism, right?
I know, but nobody
called
Lukaku fat or Eden Hazard fat.
Lukaku's been called fat all the time.
By who? Not by a president
by
of the Belgian.
Conte. He's like, you came in and you're 10 kilograms overweight. I think the difference here is he's not expressing a technical view. He's simply calling her fat because she says there's not enough resources available for the women. That is completely unacceptable, right? I think we will, and also, I think we can get to a situation where we can discuss people's fitness in an intelligent, constructive way. This was not it. This is a guy who's playing into the worst kind of misogynistic stereotypes. So, I see you for 6 months. Now, I'll say this. He's suspended for 6 months. Do you think this affects his life or the Panamanian FA in any way?
Very true.
He's still going to draw a salary.
Absolutely.
He's not allowed to go to national team games. Yeah.
He's going to work from home, basically. That's what he's
exactly. Or not work at all because, let's face it, he is the president of the Panamanian FA. Most presidents and chairmen don't do any work at all. They leave it all to the chief executives.